Progressive overload is how we kind of judge how we're performing in the gym over time. It's probably the most important thing to track on. It's push day, and we are increasing weight on my incline bench. So that gives me an opportunity to talk about my philosophy on progressive overload. Let's get into the workout and we'll talk about it. So in between sets here, I'll just introduce the term progressive overload for anyone who is not familiar with it. I'm no exercise scientist. All the information I have is just gotten by, the access to the internet. But progressive overload is essentially, over time, you're adding weight to the exercises you're doing because you're gaining strength and putting on muscle. So really, all things considered, that's the main goal of what we're trying to accomplish here, right? We'll talk a little bit more about, how I think about progressive overload in terms of increasing weight on my lifts here in a minute. 9. 8. 9. 10. Oh. We're going to move on to a new shoulder exercise, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the progressive overload. So if you've been watching before, I talked a little bit last week about how I wanted to kind of speed up transitions in between exercises, so I was going to go with the dumbbell shoulder raise. These are shoulder Y-raises. I've seen them recently on on Jeff Nippard's video. I'll link it here if you want to watch that. Essentially what he was talking about was 7 rare exercises, and the shoulder Y-raise was one of them, and I wanted to kind of give it a try, and I was getting a little tired of the cable, so I wanted to give it a try to speed things up. Let's get into it, and then we'll talk again about progressive overload. Whoa, too heavy. Yeah, those 30s were a little heavy, so we'll go down to the 20s. Hopefully those work. Okay. Oh, 11. Ooh, those hurt. All right, so my philosophy around progressive overload. A lot of times in these videos, you see me each week going up a rep, or if I get to a certain rep range, I'm increasing weight. So my thought is, week to week, I'm aiming to try to at least do one set, one more rep than I did the week before. I've had a really successful run here the past couple weeks, but for a while, there were some exercises that every single week I was doing the same rep every single set, and I could not get past it. I had to refigure some things, change exercises, maybe look at my form and see how that could work. So essentially my philosophy around progressive overload is every week I'm trying to at least get one set per exercise, one rep more than I did the week before. Here recently, I've had a lot of success going up weight on a lot of exercises, but that doesn't always happen. And it's just week to week, you monitor yourself, you log, and you try to get one more rep every set. Woo! Oh, those definitely hurt. Oh. Oh. 11. Whew. Okay. 11. Got a little too cute there with that last set of shoulder Y-raises, and I kind of missed the point of what I was talking about. But that third set went well, got 11 reps. Progressive overload is how we kind of judge how we're performing in the gym over time. It's probably the most important thing to track on, right? Progressive overload is how we can judge whether or not we are gaining strength and putting on muscle. Seems to be like it's the most important thing to keep track of. So what's my philosophy on how I handle that? As someone who is not an exercise scientist, works a full-time job, and is a busy dad. Well, really, just whenever I go to the gym, for an exercise, I try to do at least one set, one more rep than I did the week before. And if I do that week after week after week, I eventually know that I will be building strength and putting on muscle. Woo! Oh. Third set. Ten. So chest flies this week are a perfect example of whenever the progressive overload week to week doesn't really happen. Last week I got 12, 12, 10. This week I got 12, 12, 10. So you can't think that just because you're only trying to do one rep that you're going to get it every week. It's not going to happen every week. So what do we do whenever we don't get an extra rep that week? Well, the thing is, building muscle, losing weight, it's really a long-term game, right? We know it's not going to happen overnight, but a lot of times we get discouraged if we don't see anything happen day after day after day. And that's why a long-term vision of what you want to accomplish is so important. And I think progressive overload plays perfectly into that. It is about 3 months from now being better than you are today. Not necessarily tomorrow, not necessarily the next day, but 3 months from now, you want to be able to say, hey, I was here and now I'm here. And that's how you really start to make progress, by taking a look at the overall picture, looking back at where you were 3, 6, 12 months ago, and being better than you were back then. Oh. And those tiny gains week to week are why it is so important that you log your exercises, because if you don't log your exercises, you're not really going to know what you did last week or the week before that. And you know, even if you're not necessarily getting another rep, you're still building muscle. And so maybe you got the same number of reps as you got the week before, but most likely it was easier than the week before, right? So even little things like that are indicators that you're making progress, making improvements, building strength, building muscle, becoming better. And that's what's important. Whew, gosh, this is gonna look really weird. 1. Now, the last thing I want anyone to be doing is getting hurt chasing progressive overload. So make sure you're doing it in a smart way. If you feel strains or pulls, stop the lift. Don't go up weight. Don't push for the next rep. Make sure you're being smart about what you're doing. Don't chase the progressive overload at the expense of your health. You'll eventually get there. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's a good example of progressive overload. Just got 3 sets of 12 at 120. We'll move up, thinking 125, and we'll see, might go up to 130. That's the main part of the push workout, so now we'll get on to abs. Now these are a good example of lowering weight to try to get a better technique. Theoretically, I should be able to do far more weight than this based on progressive overload. But in order to try to control the exercise better, I've dropped weight. Oh, not making it as far as I did last week. Oh gosh. Okay. All done with the push day. Back to progressive overload. Don't take anything I've told you just because I said it. Watch people who actually know what they're doing. People who actually are exercise scientists and have years of training in this stuff. I'm basically just giving you the same type of information that I've gotten from them. So that's people like Jeff Nippard. Flow High Performance is really great. And then of course there's plenty of other people. Listen to them, watch their videos on progressive overload. That's it for today's workout. I'll see you at the next one on Monday. And until then, remember, progress over perfection.